Hey everybody, Ed Homewood. I hope everyone's doing well today. Welcome back to the channel. Today should be an interesting video. It certainly has been for me. These are the Chesky LC-2, Lucca Chesky's brand new stand mount speakers. And so do me a favor, sit back, relax, and we'll get started on this review. Well, before we talk about the specifics of the speaker, I want to tell you a little bit about Chesky Audio. Now, Chesky Audio is founded by Lucca Chesky. That Chesky name should be familiar to a great many audio enthusiasts and audiophiles. His father, David, obviously very, very highly regarded musician, recording engineer, impresario, had, the Chesky record label, now has the Audiophile Society record label. Remember, the dog knows. And Lucca, at 18 years old, is a musician and a really interesting speaker designer. He spent some time at the 3D Audio and Applied Acoustics lab at Princeton University, prototyping all kinds of different speakers on a 3D printer before he actually launched Chesky Audio. So it's unique in that the cabinet is 3D printed. As I mentioned, there's stuff going on inside the cabinet to break up resonances. This thing is inert and heavy, very much like, 3D printed composites. Maybe like what's used in Formula One cars, although this isn't carbon fiber, it's actually denser and heavier than that material. But the whole idea, his philosophy is bringing high-end audio performance to a broader audience through creative engineering. And I think this is the first that I'm aware of, other than the LC1, first completely 3D printed speaker cabinet. Really unique. So given that origin of the company, the youth, the fresh perspective, engineering curiosity, this LC2 is as much a statement of potential as it is a speaker product. So what are the Chesky Audio LC1s? Well, it is a $1,995 per pair plus shipping and taxes stand mount speaker. It is an evolution of Lucca Chesky's original LC1 design. I'll put specifications up here. Two things to look out for: four-ohm impedance, 86 dB sensitive. So you do need a little power, and believe me, they respond really well to power. Now, this is a completely unique speaker. I'm not sure there are any other 3D printed speakers available on the market other than the LC1. Excuse me. This uses a 5/8 inch thick aircraft grade aluminum front baffle, totally inert. It is a monocoque double walled composite filled cabinet, inert as can all get out, really heavy too, very dense, so no cabinet resonances. Plus, because it's 3D printed, Lucca's designed the interior of the cabinet to break up any standing waves or reflections inside that may affect the driver's performance. Now, it uses a dual aperiodic chamber low distortion tweeter, very nice soft dome tweeter, a high definition cast basket bass driver, and then two inertially balanced passive sub radiators. Very high-end crossover components in this, big upgrade over the LC1, and very high-end internal wiring. I believe it is all Kimber cable internally. If it's not, I'll put it down here. Anyway, this thing is a real solid, well-designed, very well-constructed, very modern loudspeaker. So while the cabinet is really unique, so are the drivers. It uses a dual aperiodic chamber low distortion soft dome tweeter. It uses a high definition cast basket mid bass driver. It is a poly material, I believe, on the driver. The dual inertially balanced passive sub radiators, they're side mounted, so no port, and it's not relying just on a smaller woofer. This technique extends bass response bandwidth and delivers a deeper, tighter bass. We'll talk about more of that when we do my listening impressions and summary. And then it is new, much different than the LC1, a high precision crossover network that really is much better designed. It is, I think, a second order slope with much better components and really good internal wiring. Very well thought out, very well designed, and it yields a great sound, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the music I used when I was testing this. So the tracks used for this review are all on the Old Guy Hi-Fi Test Tracks Volume 1 playlist. So the first track, and of course they're all got to be from the Chesky family, right? So the first track is from Lucca's twin sister, Paloma Chesky. It's called Green. It's off her latest album. This is a very emotionally rich ballad with very subtle dynamics and very expressive vocals. At 18 years old, Paloma's voice is very mature. She's got and it's only going to get better with time. Many critics, music critics have compared her to Billie Holiday. She's got this great expressive voice with very good dynamics. This is a great track for judging mid-range tonality, vocal realism, and the way your system handles soft to loud transitions. Well, the second track also is for Paloma Chesky, and it's off the same album, and it's called Sober Now. Now, this one shows off more instrumental depth, guitar, sax, rhythm section, along with her voice. Now, this is very good for evaluating imaging, instrument separation, and how bass integrates with the vocals, how it all fits together. Well, the next track is from Casey Abrams, and it's called Why Don't You Do Right. Now, this is a classic style jazz vocal with deep bass, clear acoustic instruments, and very much a live in-the-room feel to it. It's excellent for assessing bass control, articulation, and how natural acoustic instruments sound. So for the next track, this is one of my favorites. I love Bucky Pizzarelli. It's called All the Things You Are. And again, these are all from Chesky Records. This is a jazz guitar-driven interpretation, great for tonal balance, guitar timbre, high frequency detail, the strings and subtle overtones, and imaging. It's useful for seeing how your system handles harmonic complexity. Well, the last track is from Camille Thurman. This is an amazing track. It's called September in the Rain. This is a very lush, very well-recorded vocal with a lot of dynamic range. There's very expressive phrasing and layered instrumentation. This is really good for evaluating soundstage depth, vocal presence, and overall clarity. So why did I choose these particular tracks? Well, it's a variety of styles. Obviously, we've got Paloma Chesky's modern pop jazz crossover, straight ahead jazz, and acoustic guitar. The mix tests different genres and the playback system's versatility. Now, there's a lot of, we're looking for vocal and instrumentation balance because many of the tracks feature distinct vocals over rich instrumentations. They highlight how well your system handles mid-range, separation, and timbral accuracy. Now, for dynamics and realism, tracks like Green and Sober Now and September in the Rain offer dynamic swings and emotional performances, useful for evaluating dynamic range, transient response, and musical realism. And of course, the recording quality matters. So they're Chesky recordings. Chesky Records, Audiophile Society, David Chesky, who's recorded all of these, has a reputation for high resolution, minimally produced live in studio or live in space recordings. These tracks tend to reveal a system's strengths and very much its weaknesses more clearly than heavily produced pop tracks. David Chesky's recording style is minimalist, direct to, no EQ, no compression, no messing around with it. All the instruments, all the musicians in the same room at the same time using a single pair of microphones. So very, very unique, very high quality recordings for sure. Well, just to give you an idea of the gear I used to test the LC-2s, I used my Advanced Paris A12 Classic. I tried to keep things kind of price appropriate at $2,000 for the pair. You would pair them maybe with an amplifier up to twice its price. So I used the A12 Classic, which I know so very well. I also used the Gallion TSP75 and Thomas's TSA75 amplifier. I also used an Advanced Paris XP700 and XA160 Evo separate amp preamp combination. And then I also used the Junsung JA1 and JA99C amp preamp combination. Now for sources, everything I always do is from my Artivana server running through USB isolator. And I used a couple of different DACs for it. I used the Shanling SCD 3.3. You'll see that review soon. That is a full-blown tube R2R SACD player. It's a beautiful piece. I used a Shanling ET3 top-load transport when I was playing CDs through my Live Harmony, which then I was using the Singsor SU2 DDC reclocker on that. And then, of course, I used my standard analog setup, my Fluence turntable, Audio-Technica moving coil cartridge, and Cambridge Alva Duo phono preamp. And for accessories, you can't see, but these are on highly modified Dayton Audio steel stands. I used IsoAcoustics Gaia 2 speaker isolation feet, and for this particular review, I used Advanced Paris link cables for speaker cables and interconnect cables. So what are my listening impressions? And it's kind of their real world performance. Now, this is a speaker that really does punch above its weight class as far as its overall performance. Now, cosmetically, they may not be the best thing in the world with no wood grain or veneer or any of that other stuff, but The goal of the cabinet construction is to be inert and non-resonant and to control what's going on inside the box with complex forms and shapes inside. So from an overall sound standpoint, let's start with imaging and soundstage depth. This speaker places instruments and vocals very convincingly in space. There's a sense of layering front to back as well as left to right. The soundstage on this was lock solid center image with good layering and instrument placement backwards from the front baffles back. These don't have a sound that like the sound is locked to the front of the speaker like on many speakers. These actually have a very good sound stage. Good focus. Is it the best in the world? No, but it's a $2,000 speaker. So very good, nice layering. I got a good sense of where the instrument was. On the Chesky recordings, you get a very good sense because it's a minimalist recording. But on orchestral things like that, I had a good sense of where the instruments were generally placed in the orchestral on stage. So really nice image, really good soundstage, got well beyond the width of the speakers. And again, as I mentioned, good center focus. Well, on bass extension and control, thanks to the side-firing passive radiators and an inert cabinet, which is larger than the LC-2, these dig down. The reported low-frequency response is 40 hertz. I think that's legit. In room, maybe even a little bit better than that, depending on where you are boundary-wise. Now, again, in my room, the speakers live 4 feet out from the wall behind the front wall and 4 feet from any side wall. So they're kind of in their own space, and these still delivered a really, really good bass. There's a lot of punch, a lot of articulation. Given the speaker size, it actually produces more bass than you would expect given its size. Now, sound character, this is music with energy and drive. It has solid dynamics, good speed and energy, kind of a, I don't believe you can create a sense of the musicians are in the room with you. I think sometimes you can get a hint that maybe you're kind of in the room with them. You're kind of a fly on the wall a little bit. These speakers give you that kind of sense. And that's, I think, rare at a $2,000 price point. These speakers have a big sound, especially in medium rooms. Good bass heft, good detail, good imaging, and I believe they'll challenge even more expensive speakers. I'm quite impressed with them. So what are some of the strengths and caveats of the Chesky Audio LC-2? Well, it's got an innovative cabinet design. The 3D printed, very inert. That's rare at this price. It helps reduce any cabinet colorations at all. Good driver complement. The midwoofer, the dual aperiodic chamber tweeters, the passive radiators, all the upgraded crossover components. It results in deep bass, detail, and a really good balanced sound overall. They have great imaging. This tessellation on the front helps break up any distortion, any baffle distortion or baffle reflection. So you get a very good imaging and very good sound staging, especially at this price point. Good transparency and dynamic responsiveness. Those are characteristics often found in more expensive speakers, honestly. And I think a strong value proposition. No, $2,000 isn't inexpensive, but the performance they deliver, it really kind of punches above its weight. Now, cosmetically, no, they're not fine wood veneers and all the other stuff, but I will trade that in for their sonic performance and the fact that the cabinet is so inert and just so non-resonant. Well, what are the caveats for the LC-2? Being a 4-ohm nominal impedance, it does dip to 3.1 ohms. You need a fairly robust amplifier, at least 50 watts a channel. Class A, B, Class D, Class A, doesn't really matter. I used it with a variety of different amplifiers and had good performance, but you want something with good current delivery, and that's an important thing. They did perform well on tube amps, although I think they did a little bit better with solid state. They're not a plop and drop or set and forget kind of large floor standing tower speaker. You need to spend a little bit of time with positioning and placement. I find that I didn't have them towed into my ear. I had them kind of aimed probably 6 or 8 inches outside either shoulder, and the image just was beautiful and wonderful and gave me a very smooth, very detailed response. So give it a good signal and these things will give you an excellent sound. Well, I know many of you are going to ask, how does this speaker compare to other speakers in its price category? And I don't do direct comparisons, and I will tell you why. Here's the thing. In this price category, in and around $2,000, there's a lot of really good speakers. So, and I've probably used this analogy before. If you go to a Michelin star restaurant, you got a menu. everything on the menu is going to be really good, isn't it, right? It's not going to be prepared poorly. It's not going to be done poorly. It's all going to be very good. Now, there may be certain items on the menu you have a preference for, and maybe you have one that's your favorite, but only you know what you have a preference for, and only you know what is going to be your favorite, right? I can't tell you what you're going to hear. The minute you put these in your room, it's going to sound totally different than it sounds in my room. I am a subjective reviewer. You're hearing my subjective thoughts about the performance of the speaker. You can't compare speakers. There are so many, you know what, if there was one perfect speaker, there'd be one brand of speakers, right? Every designer has their own particular characteristics that they go for sonics, their own particular construction characteristics. Each speaker stands on its own merit and does not need direct comparison because, again, those direct comparisons, if I were to make them, are completely invalid when it comes to you, your room, your equipment, and your particular set of ears. So that's why I don't do direct comparisons. I will tell you that there are a lot of good speakers in this price category, and this certainly is a pair. Well, I think the Chesky LC-2 is a remarkable effort by a new entrant into the audio world. This isn't your father's Oldsmobile. This isn't this isn't the old-timey kind of speaker. You've got a young designer, fresh ideas, tackling traditional audiophile trade-offs with very modern designs and engineering and production. Really, really clever product. For someone building a system on a modest budget, you got a $2,000 budget for speakers, and you're seeking real bass extension, a dynamic speaker, a room-filling sound, good imaging, and really good musical engagement. That's what's most important to me. The LC-2 is arguably among one of the best values right now and needs to be on your short list. So really, if you appreciate innovation, you want a speaker that delivers serious sound without forcing you into a huge expenditure, and you aren't afraid to match it with a good amp and good source material, and you can spend some time carefully placing it, the LC-2 is going to surprise you. It's a strong statement. It proves that age is no barrier to thoughtful loudspeaker design. And I'll tell you right now, Lucca Chesky and Chesky Audio, that's a company and a designer very much worth watching in the future. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed reviewing these speakers. They are quite a remarkable product. Anyway, hopefully you'd give me a like. Hopefully you'd want to subscribe to the channel. Maybe ring the bell to get notified when I drop another video. Maybe you want to share this video with someone you think might be interested. I would like to take a moment to thank my current channel members and subscribers for their support. Thank you, everyone. There will be a link to Chesky Audio's website. I have no affiliation with them at all, but if you want more details or find out information on how to purchase them, that's there. There will be a link to the Old Guy Hi-Fi Test Tracks Volume 1 playlist, all three, Tidal, Qobuz, and Spotify, in the video description. In the pinned comment and video description will be a link to my channel membership if you'd care to join the channel. There are some affiliate links in the video description. There is a link to the Community Post playlist. Please check it out. It's some wonderful music there. Comment. Let me know your thoughts. Are you in the market for a speaker like this? What do you think about really cool cutting-edge technology and modern construction techniques being used to build basically what is a traditional dynamic driver speaker system? Anyway, share your thoughts with me. I've covered all the bases on the LC-2 from Chesky Audio. I have. So please like, subscribe, comment. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to. My name is Ed Homewood. This is the Old Guy Hi-Fi channel. And as I always tell you to do, please find some time in your busy day to put on the music you love and just sit back and listen and relax. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I really hope you have a wonderful day.